Hey fight fans, I'm Sarah Davis and you're watching Fight News Now Extra. Stay with us next as we tell you about the big fights set for March in Montreal and Japan, and then find out what our MMA analysts have to say about it all. Let's get to our newsmakers. UFC President Dana White just announced that we'll likely see George St-Pierre back in the octagon as early as March. That's when he's slated to face the currently suspended Nick Diaz, who GSP requested as his next opponent. So that will likely be at UFC 158 in Montreal. And there's a good chance we'll also see Rory McDonald take on GSP's most recent opponent, Carlos Condit, on that card, even though the event has not been announced. However, the UFC has officially announced the bout between the two welterweights as McDonald looks to redeem himself against the natural-born killer. Fan favorite Wanderlei Silva has booked his next opponent. He'll meet All-American Brian Stann in the main event at UFC on Fuel TV 8 when the promotion heads back to Japan in March. That card will also see Stefan Struve face Mark Hunt and Diego Sanchez throw down with Takanori Gomi. So March 2013 is shaping up to be a big month for the UFC. Let's hear from our panel, John Pollock, John Ramdine, and Robin Black. And guys, did you expect to see GSP-Diaz so soon?
I am surprised that George is going to have such a quick turnaround, but I think if you're the UFC, that March card in Montreal was not a guarantee. If you remember Dana White saying maybe Tom Wright kind of got ahead of himself announcing that, but with a main event like this, you're clearly going to go ahead with this in Montreal. But I severely am going to hedge my bets on Nick Diaz being able to make it to this fight. I just sense so many potential screw-ups that Johnny Hendricks, I would be starting a fight camp any day now just to be ready.
No way. Nick Diaz is definitely going to make it to this fight. He's blown his chances.
Like he made the last one?
Well, that's the thing. He's blown his chances too many times.
Oh, yeah, this guy doesn't make the same mistake
No,
twice.
I know that. But I know that Cesar Gracie in his camp, he saw that Nathan, coming out of that title fight, what type of sponsorship he's made, the type of money he made.
That means nothing to this guy. Do you know how much money he has left on the table?
That's not
Millions at this
true.
point.
He is all about the money, and I know he's not going to blow his chance for the money.
He has blown it.
Well, he has.
Many a time, literally blowing it and failed a drug test.
Many a times?
Many a times, missing a press conference where he lost the St-Pierre chance the first time, where he failed a drug test and has missed a year.
Did he lose money after the drug test?
He hasn't fought all year, John. That to me is lost money.
Not really, because he didn't get hurt. That's that. When you talk to Nick Diaz,
he didn't make a dollar this year.
Yes,
he hasn't made a dollar since February.
Okay, but that's right. So coming back and fighting George in March is going to give him that chance to make all the money
that's what
he
we're
didn't
debating
make
if this will
in
happen.
2012. So that's why he is all about the money. He's all about the tough fights. He wants to be the biggest superstar. That is why, without question, he is going to make this fight with George St-Pierre.
Well, we have Cesar Gracie here.
Lives in the same old house on the same old street with the same old car that he's always lived with. So this guy isn't all about the money. Nick Diaz, really, the reason that we love to watch Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz is because it's the same reason that they make all these screw-ups. They're a little off. They're not quite right. There's like, the wires don't all mix up. The axons and dendrites get all tangled up somewhere in there. They're messed up dudes. But that's what makes it so incredibly compelling. And that's why we want to see this guy in there going crazy, freaking out, antagonizing GSP. We're hoping that happens. Both of you guys have it, oh, it's totally not going to happen. It's totally going to happen. It's like 50-50.
Because we're not saying maybe. Let me just, and we'll move on right after this. Last week, Dana White said that they were trying to put this fight together. He's contacted Nick, but couldn't get a hold of him. He wasn't returning his phone calls. You're literally talking about $1 million phone call, and you don't return that call.
I want to make sure that I got this right. This is coming from the same guy that said that Miesha Tate and Sarah McCann were both offered the title shots against Ronda Rousey. Am I correct?
Yes.
And what do we know about that? Those were both BS. Both Sarah McCann and Miesha Tate said those phone calls never happened. I rest my case.
Let's chat about this Australia card coming up on Friday. UFC on FX number 6. It is headlined by lightweights. Ross Pearson returning to 155, taking on fellow Smashes coaches George Soteropoulos in this fight. Do you like Pearson back at 155?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And what I like about this matchup, it's a stylistic matchup. We have Pearson, the stand-up guy, good sprawls, good Muay Thai skills against Soteropoulos. We know what he's good at. Get this fight down to the ground and showcase his jiu-jitsu skills. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I know that people were very high on George Sotiropoulos, but we've seen that in the stand-up game, he gets exposed.
Man, I don't know. Sotiropoulos is a big 155er, and his opponent is kind of a smaller 155er. And that's an enormous, enormous difference, especially in the grappling department. So I like Pearson on the feet, but man, Sotiropoulos, if he puts us on the ground and he gets into that leaning half-guard position, he can really hurt him. It's a very cut and dry game plan. If you're Sotiropoulos, you need to get on top of this guy and grind him down with your weight. It makes for an exciting fight.
We also have the second UFC fight for Hector Lombard as he returns to take on Husamar Palhares. His debut in Calgary, not getting outstanding reviews, and then later revealing that he had an injury. A story that I buy, at least based on Hector Lombard's performance. But here we see him against another tough test, which they all are right now in that top end at 185.
And I think that's the point that you make. It's the tough tests. Yes, there's tough tests all around the world. If you compete in mixed martial arts, you're going to get into a fight and you're going to get hurt. But the UFC really is that different level. Yes, Bellator has some tough challenges, but I think Hector Lombard got a real dose of reality with his first fight in the UFC. I mean, Tim Boetsch, maybe not a household name to the casual fans, but anybody who's seen this guy fight knows that he is a gamer, and you're simply just not going to look good against Tim Boetsch. So I think Hector Lombard knows that he has to maybe reassess and hope maybe that injury is a real factor.
But Palhares got a dose of reality when Alan Belcher punched his way through his leg locks, and they match up great. This is a really cool fight. I can't wait to see it.
We got FX on Friday night as well. Bellator 84 heavyweight and lightweight finals on Friday night. Busy weekend, Sarah.
Busy weekend for holiday parties and time to watch some fights, right? Okay, thanks, guys. And when you're not watching Fight Network, you can still stay up to date on all the latest combat sports news by visiting our website. It's fightnetwork.com, and there's a ton of content on there. We're always updating it with press releases, articles, and videos. So check it out. All right, stay tuned next on Fight News Now Extra for a look at Tough 16 headliner Ross Pearson.